Hi, Barbara. So what's your association with Fitzroy?
Well, I live and work in Fitzroy, and I work at a place in Moore Street, Fitzroy, and it's called HIPPY, which stands for the Home Instruction Program for Preschool Youngsters. And it's a program that's been going for about 3 or 4 years. It started in Israel at Jerusalem University, but it came to Fitzroy first of all, and we've been working with a lot of Vietnamese families. We started off working with Hmong families, and we work with some Anglo families. And we work with the families in helping them teach their children to do their homework when they're 4 years old and 5 years old.
Okay. Is there any particular reason that the program came to Fitzroy?
It came to Fitzroy because the Brotherhood of St Lawrence, which is based in Fitzroy, decided to auspice the program. So they've been very supportive and provided the funding in the first year, and continue to provide them the funding, but even though it's expanded, so that's great. The Brotherhood of St Lawrence is situated over at Brunswick Street.
Yeah, okay. And most of the children you look after Hmong and Vietnamese?
We started off with a Hmong program. The Hmong community have mainly moved over to the western suburbs, so this year we've got mainly Vietnamese families and some Anglo families, because the Vietnamese families are the predominant culture in the flats, in the high-rise at Fitzroy, the Atherton estate.
Yeah.
So we're working a lot with Vietnamese families at the moment. Yeah.
So it's mostly underprivileged children?
We work with children whose parents haven't reached year 12, so they may not have had good experiences of school and may not feel that confident about schooling. Especially with the Vietnamese families, they've been migrated to Australia and English is their second language, and so the schooling system is all new to them.
Yeah.
So we help them sort of get used to the school systems and feel confident about working with their kids.
Yeah.
They would all be on low incomes, yes, and most of our families are living in the Atherton estate.
Yes. And you mentioned the Hmong community has moved away?
So the Hmong community have moved, in the last couple of years. They've moved over to the western suburbs.
Yeah.
So they were predominantly in Fitzroy when they first arrived in Australia, or in Melbourne. They moved to Tasmania, Melbourne and northern Queensland, I think. But the ones that moved to Melbourne were in Fitzroy.
Yeah. Well, do you know why they moved, or any reason?
I'm not sure why they moved. I think some of them were interested in getting houses rather than living in the high-rise.
Yeah.
The gardening is very important for the Hmong community, so I think it must have been very difficult for them living in the high-rise, not having any access to the earth.
Yeah. And how long have you lived in Fitzroy yourself?
I've lived in Fitzroy since about 1973. I grew up in the country and I moved to Fitzroy when I first went to university. Yeah. And I just love being in the inner city.
Yeah. And have you seen the ethnicity of Fitzroy change markedly?
Yes. When I first moved, there was predominantly Greek and Italian more noticeable cultures, which was fantastic for me, coming from the country, which always seemed so bland and boring, to discover these exciting foods and interesting cultures. Yeah. So. That the more maybe Turkish and Vietnamese cultures are more recent. Yeah, Turkish and.
So they had shops on Brunswick Street.
And the milk bars and. Yeah. I wasn't that familiar with Smith Street, but Brunswick Street, I do remember being totally empty of cafes. I remember the Black Cat first opening, and it was terribly exciting having somewhere to go for breakfast.
Yeah.
Because our nightlife, the only place that was open late at night was up in Lygon Street called the Bluebird and the Twins, and going and play pool. But Brunswick Street had nothing. So it was very exciting when Henry Mars opened the Black Cat.
Yeah. And Have you seen any negative changes in Fitzroy or positive changes?
Well, I think actually a lot of it's positive. I really love all the cafes and the culture down Brunswick Street and the nightlife, even though I don't really go out that much, but I really like that there's lots more vibrancy and lots more happening around. And I think we can thank the Greek and Italian migrants for that, for developing a cafe culture, introducing us to a cafe culture.
Yeah. Do you think that Fitzroy may be losing some of that because it's become maybe more affluent, or maybe losing its cultural diversity?
Well, I think being near the Atherton estate, we get lots of interesting cultures still around, and I suppose because I work here, I'm really familiar with the Vietnamese culture and the African people that are here, and that's great, seeing they have so much to offer. I really enjoy down in Smith Street. There's a Tibetan restaurant and Tibetan shops that I go to quite often. So I still love it. I would never move from Fitzroy. I think it's a very friendly area. I love the way it's diverse cultures, and I love the way it's close community. Yeah. And that you can cycle everywhere. Yep, that's all right. Is that enough?